Hi and welcome back to Live PA. In this video I'm going to show you how we can actually manage users and how we can set up roles, retention policies, and how we can get teams to work within, say, a large enterprise environment. Okay, so firstly I'm in the Live PA portal. I've already logged in. As you can see, I'm in my Manage Active Users pane. In there's some very standard information such as forename, surname, username, role. And as you can see, if I highlight myself, I'm an organizational admin, and an organizational admin comes as standard as the highest level of actually admin user, so I can actually change and make additions to this. If you were just a normal user, then you wouldn't actually see the user, teams, roles or licenses piece. You would just have access to the recordings if you had the necessary permissions. So I'm going to go straight over here and I'm going to click on the detail, and that will show you exactly the policies that I have assigned to my role. So here we have a few bits of information that are taken directly from Active Directory. Here we have our role, so organizational admin. I can't change my own role, someone else would have to do that. We have three different types of recording. So the first one is none. So that means that the calls are still recorded. However, because this person has it set to none, that call is then automatically trashed at the very end and not recorded and saved. On demand, it's fairly straightforward again. Basically, if someone wants to record calls, they have the option to actually choose to record those calls or not to. And that can be via our Outlook toolbar plugin by pressing a button on there that actually allows us to record the call, or by adding an assistant into the conversation in Lync, and that will automatically start the recording of the call. So once a call is actually started, we can drag in this bot at any time, and that will then record the entire call, not just from the moment that we have started by putting the bot in. Permanent speaks for itself. Permanent means that every single call is recorded and saved. And I'll show you the retention policies in just a minute. Okay, moving forward, I've got some permissions here. Now, permissions are actually set by roles, as you can see over here, but I'm going to go into roles in a second. We can customize each user so that they have different permissions. Okay, so in here, allow sharing of recordings. That's true. Yeah, I want other guys in my teams to be able to see recordings. We could stop someone from doing that. However, playback date scope. So say I work in a team, I might not want that team to see every single recording for months on end. So I can restrict them to how long they can play back a call. Post-call tagging means that I can go onto my call afterwards and I can add a keyword which will allow me to search for that call at a later date. However, I might not want people to actually have that ability because they might not do it right. Allow post-call bookmarking. So basically, bookmarking allows me to choose a point in time in a phone call. So say if I've got an hour-long phone call with, say, a conference call with about 20 or 30 people involved, and one Live PA user is actually on that call, so they've recorded that call, they can then go in and at different points in that call they can put bookmarks in so that any user in the Live PA system can click on that bookmark and go directly to that piece. They don't have to go through the entire call. Okay, so allow delete recordings. So here I'm set to none. This means I can also delete my own recordings or my team's recordings. However, if the retention policy that I'm going to show you in a minute is bigger than an individual's retention policy, so if a company's retention policy is longer, then it will not actually allow you to delete those recordings. So playback team scope. So I can either play back my own or play back my team's. So allow pause and resume. So there are some legal ramifications though that during a call you may need to pause and resume, and via the Outlook toolbar plugin we've got, you can actually pause and resume a call, so it'll allow you to do that for about 20 seconds. Recording, allow in-call metadata. So whilst I'm actually going through the recording, I can actually record bookmarking and I can record tags and etc. So next thing I'm going to go through to are teams. So teams, again, on the left hand side we can create any number of teams and we can be included in those teams if we want to. If we are included in those teams, it'll actually give us access to other calls that my team are actually making, and I can see them as well in my recordings pane over here. So the last one, and probably the most important of everything we've got here, is our retention policy, and this is set in months. So some people are now saying that you've got to keep it for 7 years, some for 10 years, some for 5 years. We've got ours set to 3 years. Duration in days, we can change this to days if you want. So we can just say true or false. At the moment, false means it stays at months. Enforced means, yep, that's going to be applied to every single call that's recorded. Auto delete, that basically means that as soon as that call hits, each individual call, hits 36 months, they will automatically be deleted from the live PA system. Means it frees up space after a certain period of time. And as you can see, you might not want everyone to record their calls for, certainly keep their calls for a long period of time. And that pretty much goes through the retention policy. Makes it nice and simple. It's very easy to keep. So I'm just going to close this down, and I'm going to go into Teams and just show you a bit about Teams. So I can actually add a team very simply. I'll just go down here, team name, I can call it, let's call it A, for example. Click submit, go into the detail, and then what I can do is I can go into my live PA system and I can choose who I want to be in team A. Okay, I'm going to save that. I'm then going to choose another team, and I'm going to call this team B. So, and I'm going to choose again, go into B, click on the detail, 1, 2, 3. So we've now saved 2 separate teams, and we've got 2 separate teams with separate users all working within those teams. Okay, so that will give those guys access to each other's phone calls as long as they have the correct permissions set up. So I'm going to go into roles, and this is one of the most important pieces, and this is where an enterprise level company can actually really make a difference. So when they're adding in users, and we can batch users in, they might want to have a number of different users. They might want a manager, they might want a high level manager who doesn't necessarily have all his calls recorded, or just wants the ability to maybe review the odd call. And you can be a reviewer in the live PA system and not take up a license. So we could set up any number of these roles. We can add them in very quickly. I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to call this high, and we'll click submit. So this is like a high level manager, and then we're going to go in here, we're going to choose the detail. So we might want this guy to be able to delete the team that he's on. He can delete their recordings. Playback date scope, well, he'll only need a week's worth, he won't need any more. So, and so on and so forth. And we can change all this information down to here. I'm going to say save. Now, if I go back into users and manage active users, and here, if I add a user, I'm going to add Helen. Now, as you can see, Helen's details come straight up from the Active Directory. I click on her, and I'm going to call her Hi. Click submit, and now we can see Helen has been created. Her role is a high, so she's a high level manager, and in here her permissions are what we set earlier with our overriding retention policy of 36 months. So that's the way we can actually manage our recordings, we can actually manage our teams, and we can build this into a full hierarchical structure within, say, a large company structure. I hope that was useful. If you've got any other questions, please let me know. Thanks very much.